Let's say that you've bought a car. You've paid off all the fees, you bought the insurance, it is yours, no longer the dealership's. But according to GM, it might not actually be yours after all. Right now there's a court case going on with the U.S. Copyright Office. These are hearings on whether or not anyone other than the manufacturer of the car has a right to tinker with the car's copyrighted software. So basically, GM, which is the maker of Cadillac, Chevy, GMC, they are saying that people who buy their cars they don't own it. They're just licensees. They hold the license based on the idea that there is software in the car and that the software, they are the copyright holders of that, which sounds pretty crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a couple things. First, it's not even just GM. GM just happens to be the sort of focus of the story.
Right, they're in
the
the hearings now.
True, that's right. They are in the hearing at the moment. BMW does this as well. A lot of automakers want their electronic control units, which are called their ECUs, is what they call them, to be locked out from tinkering with and tampering with. The thinking originally, I think, goes back to, well, if you go in and mess with the control units for the airbags or the brakes or the coding for the chips, that you could create some kind of issue where maybe when you sold the car down the road, an owner wouldn't necessarily be aware that maybe you disabled a safety feature that was bothering you. I think that's an altruistic, or at least a safe argument. What it really looks like is that they would like to keep all of the people who are fixing their vehicles in the GM house.
They want to keep the money in the family.
Yeah, and they want to make sure that, I mean, it makes sense. It's like, they always recommend that you get your car fixed with original equipment, OEM parts and things like that. And I think that there's two arguments that I can see. One is that there are these people who love to tinker with their cars and to change their cars, but at the same time, I don't love the idea of somebody being able to download an open software for their 3 Series and go plug it into the control console and then completely change maybe the driving dynamics of a car.
I don't think that's what people are arguing right now. I think that's more of what the car manufacturer side is saying, like, oh, this could snowball into a totally unsafe event.
Though I think it has, though. In specifically like BMW, people code their cars. They change a lot of the data. They chip them. They increase the performance, and it's really more about trying to personalize the vehicle for their own specific reason. The thing I think the concern is that if they did something and it malfunctioned, that because there's so much electronic control when it comes to the steering and the transmission and the gas and brake pedals, that altering it could potentially cause a lot of damage. I mean, look, it's a different thing than saying I'm going to hack my iPhone. I'm going to jailbreak my iPhone. If I brick my phone, I can't kill anybody with it. But if I've got a car, 4,000-pound car that's flying down the 405, well, let's be real, 25 miles an hour down the 405. Then,
stop and go.
Yeah, you know,
on and off. I think that's fair, but I also feel that is not what people who would like to be able to service their cars elsewhere are getting at. There is certainly probably a minority of people who are like, yeah, I'm going to soup this up, I'm going to be all unsafe, I'm going to make the road unsafe for other drivers. But at the same time, when you guard the copyright that closely, you are hurting competition, you're stifling innovation, you're not allowing third-party security and safety researchers to be able to test the car's capabilities without becoming lawbreakers themselves. Where is the limit here? And I think maybe it's somewhere in between what we have right now. But I can't agree with it. I can't agree with being a licensee to a car that I've paid for. But
I mean, I think that in any kind of situation, though, even if you were to take a computer, for example, right? It's like, I don't own OS X on my Mac. I own the computer, but I license the software to operate it.
Yes, but the software is completely necessary to running the car.
I think we would say the same thing about the computer as well, though.
I could maybe get something else. I could go get a Linux.
You could flash
I could go get some
Linux,
Ubuntu.
Yeah, okay.
But with this, it's just like, we own this code. The car is completely inoperable without the code. You have to do what we say in regards to the code. Therefore, you do what we say in regard to the car. And then, of course, as you mentioned earlier, we are seeing prices stay pretty high in terms of servicing the vehicle and taking it in for inspection. I would like to be able to take my car to any mechanic.
Absolutely. I think that's the number one thing, that I see as being a detractor from this whole thing, is that if you're GM, you're obviously just trying to do this so you can keep people coming to your GM dealership to get the necessary repairs. Whereas, if you were able to have real competition and real choice, maybe there's somebody down the street who's going to do it better at a better price and is going to give you a better experience. And absolutely, we should want that as consumers. I think the only thing that I think is that, like, I try to figure out how many people that this actually affects. The days of the grease monkey in a garage, altering the, Chevy big block engine, I think those are gone. And especially when you talk about ECU.
No grease lightning.
These guys, well, even still, the grease monkeys aren't plugging in the electronic control units to their, server farms and trying to figure out how to go in and really make a lot of changes. If you still want to go in and say, like, change the wheels or do something with the muffler or put a turbocharger on, theoretically, you could probably still do that without having to affect the brains of the car.
Well, audience, we have argued it back and forth. There are two sides to the story, maybe even more sides to the story, because what is yours? What do you think is the issue, and where should the line be drawn in terms of copyright, in terms of vehicles? The Copyright Office will be making a decision as to who can do what to whose cars in July. Until then, it's up in the air. Let us know what you think below in the comments, and please be sure to subscribe.